I love black and white films. I personally think that black and white movies are far more superior than colour films for a few reasons. With less colour on the screen, I find black and white movies relaxing to watch. Being that all you see is black and white, you tend to use your imagination a bit more while watching a movie. For example, if we see someone bleeding in a black and white film, all we see is black blood on the screen. We all know that the colour of blood is red, so already your mind is much more involved more so when watching a black and white film, more so than watching a colour film. Black and white movies were predominant up until the 50s. By the late 50s, we were seeing less black and white films as most movies were being released in colour. Most of the black and white films I've seen I've really enjoyed, but don't get me wrong, colour movies are still awesome to watch, but black and white movies grab my attention a bit more. Some of my favourite films shot in black and white are Dead Man, The Man Who Wasn't There, Godzilla, and Tetsuo the Iron Man. Tetsuo the Iron Man is an interesting film. I remember hiring Tetsuo the Iron Man on VHS at my local video shop many moons ago cause I was so curious about this cover art. What's this guy staring at? As time went on, I totally forgot about Tetsuo the Iron Man, up until the other day when I came across it online on Blu-ray. Tetsuo the Iron Man is an interesting film, and in my opinion, it's a true cinematic masterpiece. Let's get into the review of Tetsuo the Iron Man, and just a heads up, this movie's a bit out there, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Tetsuo the Iron Man is directed by Shinya Tsukamoto, who directed other films such as Hiroko the Goblin, Tokyo Fist, and Snake of June. The movie starts off with what looks like a deranged character. This character has a metal fetish and looks like he's living in a scrap metal yard. After inserting a metal rod into his leg, he's horrified that his leg didn't heal up the way he would have liked. At the sight of maggots in his wound, he freaks out at the sight and hysterically takes off on foot. While hysterically running, he's not noticing his surroundings and is iconically run over by a car. But it is unknown if this deranged character with the metal fetish has passed away. The person who was driving the car isn't so lucky. Traumatized by the accident, the salaryman quickly notices that his body is changing after the accident, and things start getting really interesting from there. Tetsuo the Iron Man was released in 1989, and this film is categorized as a cyberpunk body horror film. I remember discovering this film in the sci-fi section at my video store, The Simple Days. What doesn't sound so simple is what director Shinya Tsukamoto went through while making this film. Not only did he direct Tetsuo the Iron Man, Shinya produced, edited, wrote this film, and even starred in this film, playing as the nutjob with a metal fetish at the start of the film. Tetsuo the Iron Man was filmed in 18 long grilling months in an apartment, and most of the crew lived in the apartment weren't getting along. Shinya saved up all of his money to produce the film while working at his day job, and by the end of the production, most of the crew had abandoned the project. Tsukamoto admitted that he even considered burning the film negatives because of how bad of an experience he had while making the film. But that saying, Tetsuo the Iron Man is a fascinating film, and it's so creative, to the photography, to the special effects, to the costumes, to the cinematography, to especially the stop motion, which I really appreciated. The acting is done well enough and it feels really comical at times. The salaryman goes through so much throughout this film. My favourite scene will have to be when the salaryman is being chased down by a woman who is possessed. This scene is so creepy, it feels as though that this scene goes on for ages, and just the facial expressions throughout the chase are awesome. For an industrial movie, the soundtrack for the film just melts together. It's so cool. It's put together by Chu Ishikawa, and it is brilliant. The soundtrack for the film consists of 9 tracks, and it's well worth your time. There is plenty of clanging and banging happening, and it even has a track called Megatron.
You underestimate me, Starscream.
Tetsuo the Iron Man is quite a short movie running at 67 minutes, but it totally feels as though it's perfect because there's so much things that happen throughout the film that it feels as though the duration is much longer. There is so much I like about this film. It's a low budget film, but a true work of art that's worthy of your time. I guarantee you will remember this film forever. It's quite an experience. And check out the soundtrack for the film. I can imagine if you collect vinyl, you want to have this in your collection. I recommend picking up this Blu-ray of Tetsuo the Iron Man if you're interested in buying a physical copy, as it was a cheaper option. As for me, I'm going to check out Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, cause I've never seen it before. Later dudes.